Good day, we are Group 5 and we are going to present the anthropogenic effects on carbon cycle and its effects on fauna. But first, we are going to determine and discuss what is fauna and the carbon cycle. First, what is a fauna? Fauna is all of the animal life present in a particular region or time, and the corresponding term for plants is flora. For fungi, it's funga. All of these three, flora, fauna, and funga, and other forms of life are collectively referred to as biota. Now, let's proceed on the carbon cycle. So, the figure that you can see in the top right corner is the visual representation of the carbon cycle process that is every day happening in our environment. So, carbon is transferred between the ocean, atmosphere, soil, and living things over time scales of hours to centuries. For example, photosynthesizing plants on land remove carbon dioxide directly from the atmosphere, and those carbon atoms become part of the structure of the plants. As plants are eaten by herbivores, and herbivores are eaten by carnivores, carbon moves up the food web. Meanwhile, the respiration of plants, animals, and microbes returns carbon to the atmosphere as carbon dioxide or CO2. When carbon dioxides die and decay, carbon also returns to the atmosphere or is integrated into the soil along with some of the waste. The combustion of biomass during wildfires also release large amounts of carbon stored in plants back into the atmosphere. So that is the carbon cycle.
Plays a critical role in carbon storage as it holds about 50 times more carbon than the atmosphere. Two-way carbon exchanges can occur quickly between the ocean surface waters and the atmosphere, but carbon may be stored for centuries at the deepest ocean depths. Rocks like limestones and fossil fuels like coal and oil are storage reservoirs that contain carbon from plants and animals that lived millions of years ago. When these organisms died, slow geologic processes trapped their carbon and transformed it into these natural resources. Processes such as erosion release this carbon back into the atmosphere very slowly, while volcanic activity can release it very quickly. Burning fossil fuels in cars or power plants is another way this carbon can be released in the atmospheric reservoir quickly.
We'll now proceed to the human impact on the carbon cycle. Human activities have a tremendous impact on the carbon cycle. Burning fossil fuels, changing land use, and using limestone to make concrete all transfer significant quantities of carbon into the atmosphere. As a result, the amount of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere is rapidly rising. It is already greater than at any time in the last 3.6 million years. The ocean absorbs much of the carbon dioxide that is released from burning fossil fuels. This extra carbon dioxide is lowering the ocean's pH through a process called ocean acidification. Ocean acidification interferes with the ability of marine organisms, including corals, Dungeness crabs, and snails, to build their shell and skeletons. So moving on, the burning of fossil fuels refers to the burning of oil, natural gas, and coal to generate energy. We use this energy to generate electricity and to power transportation, for example, cars and planes, and industrial processes. Fossil fuels form over millions of years from the burial of photosynthetic organisms, including plants on land, which primarily form coal, and plankton in the oceans, which primarily form oil and natural gas. To grow these organisms, remove carbon dioxide from the atmosphere and the ocean, and their burial inhibited the movement of the carbon through the carbon cycle. The burning of this fossil material returns this carbon back into the atmosphere as carbon dioxide at a rate that is hundreds of thousands of times faster than it took to bury, and much faster than can be removed by the carbon cycle. Thus, the carbon dioxide released from the burning of fossil fuels accumulates in the atmosphere, some of which then dissolves into the ocean, causing ocean acidification.
And now let's proceed to the effects. The intensifies greenhouse effect. So releasing the greenhouse gases carbon dioxide and nitrous oxide into the atmosphere, which intensifies the greenhouse effect, the radiation of heat in the atmosphere, increasing the Earth's average air temperatures, and these greenhouse gases can remain in the atmosphere for decades to hundreds of years. Next is Earth becomes warmer. Earth is now about 1.1 degrees Celsius warmer than it was in the 1800s. Based on current projections, global temperatures will rise by 2.7 degrees Celsius by the end of the century. It is impossible to predict exactly how long-term shifts in temperatures and weather patterns will affect our planet's fragile, deeply unclean ecosystems. Changes in one area influence changes in other areas, and animals will feel the impact. And lastly, animals will be extinct. The combination of challenges could cause many animals to go extinct. The world's most vulnerable animals, including those already near extinction, will likely face the biggest threats. many species of animals were gone extinct because of the continuous increase of heat of our planet. Animals from the Arctic region are the ones most affected by global warming. For example, the polar bears. They are now threatened species that could go extinct in the next 5 to 10 years.
Ocean. Increasing the acidity of precipitation. Sulfur dioxide, nitrogen oxides, and carbon dioxide react with water vapor, oxygen, and other chemicals to form acid rain. Acid rain can contaminate fresh water sources, resulting in harmful algal blooms that reduce water oxygen levels and harm fish populations and other wildlife. Additionally, acid rain increases chemical weathering of rocks, including man-made structures. Next, for a good reason, ocean acidification is sometimes called osteoporosis of the sea. Ocean acidification can create conditions that eat away at the minerals used by oyster, clams, lobsters, shrimp, coral reefs, and other marine life to build their shells and skeletons. With the disturbance of the primary source of the food in the marine life, it can significantly affect the food chain. It can lead to shortage of food source for larger marine life and to some sensitive species, and it can lead to extinction.
Plants on land have taken up approximately 25% of the carbon dioxide that humans have put into the atmosphere. The amount of carbon that plants take up varies greatly from year to year, but in general, the world's plants have increased the amount of carbon dioxide they absorb since 1960. Only some of these increase occurred as a direct result of fossil fuel emissions. The biggest changes in the land carbon cycle are likely to come because of climate change. Carbon dioxide increases temperatures, extending the growing season and increasing humidity. Both factors have led some additional plant growth. However, warmer temperatures also stress plants. With a longer, warmer growing season, plants need more water to survive. Scientists are already seeing evidence that plants in the northern hemisphere slow their growth in the summer because of warm temperatures and water shortages.
Leading, the warming caused by the rising greenhouse gases may also bake the soil, accelerating the rate at which carbon seeps out in some places. This of particular concern in the Far North, where frozen soil, permafrost, is thawing. Permafrost contains rich deposits of carbon from plant matter that has accumulated for thousands of years because the cold slows the decay. When the soil warms, the organic matter decays, and carbon in the form of methane and carbon dioxide seeps into the atmosphere. Current research estimates that permafrost in the northern hemisphere holds 1,672 billion tons of organic carbon. If just 10% of this permafrost were to thaw, it could release enough extra carbon dioxide to the atmosphere to raise temperatures for an additional of 0.7 degrees Celsius or 1.3 degrees Fahrenheit by the year 2100.
So now I'll be discussing the negative effect of carbon to animals. Exposing animals to carbon dioxide can cause distress because acutely sensitive CO2 chemoreceptors and pH receptors have evolved in vertebrates, with the result that carbon dioxide is a potent respiratory stimulant that rapidly induces dyspnea, impaired breathing, often called air hunger or breathlessness. It can also cause discomfort and pain because it is converted to carbonic acid in the mucosa of the eye, nose, and mouth, which activates polymodal nociceptors, which is a specialized nerve cells that send pain signals in response to stimuli. Furthermore, I will be discussing the negative effect of carbon to animals in ocean. Carbon pollution is changing the ocean's chemistry, slowing its ability to uptake CO2, making it more acidic, and harming shellfish and other marine life we depend on. The ocean has absorbed about 99% of global CO2 emissions since the end of the pre-industrial era.
And this sums up all our report. Thank you for listening.